The first thing I just wanted to do is make sure that I have your consent to record this and that you're cool with me, of course, saying your name and putting it in the report. Is that all right?
Yes, you have my consent.
Okay, cool. Well, if you can go back to that time like 14 years ago or 13 years ago, and if you could just say your name and your rank at the time and the department you were working in at that time.
Yes, my rank was in ABF2. I worked for the Aviation Fuels Department on board USS Nimitz. And basically I was a flight decker, and that's what kind of brought me up on the flight deck that night during secured operations.
Tell me a little bit about that day later on in November. We believe we're going to try to find out when you guys were wrapping up, and describe what you were doing. And if you want, I mean, just give me the play-by-play.
If I recall correctly, second and last night of the operations, typically what happens that day before nightfall, the air wing would disembark. And what I mean by the air wing, all the jets will fly off and head back to their home base. One jet will stay by, and he's called the Alert 6. This aircraft is sitting on the flight deck with a pilot in the cockpit. He's just sitting there. And he is to be launched within 6 minutes. The catapult system is charged, ready to go. The air wing personnel, a lot of the guys who are doing maintenance and handle supplies, they stay on board, and they're starting to remove a lot of their gear from the flight deck. And they're going up and down the elevators, and they were using, I believe, the starboard side elevator was L3. Right around that time, it was already nighttime, clear night. We hear man overboard. And when that happens, we have to report it. I went back and reported in, all accounted for. Once that happened, I went to the aft of the aircraft carrier, and that is when I saw the sailor's strobe light blinking in the ocean. And this poor kid he's drifting away. I do remember deck department having a long time. It took a long time to get that rig boat off the aircraft carrier to pick this kid up. And, you're just standing out there watching, and hopefully we knew we were going to get this guy, and we were astonished how far he had gone out, because he probably got caught in some current or whatever. And at that moment, this object drops out from the sky, and it's traveling so fast. Usually, if you see a shooting star, it'll break up. But this thing just kept coming down, and it stopped in between the horizon just above the water, and just above, in between the part where you'll start to see stars. And it's almost directly behind the sailor, but it's still miles away. We see it. I see it. ABF2 Dig sees it. I do know that the deck department, whoever was shining their spotlight on the sailor, hopefully he could hear this, or others could hear this, especially those on the flight deck. The deck department holding the spotlight on the sailor turned his light to try to, illuminate this object. So there were other visual eyewitnesses of that incident. At that moment, the object goes from right to left in a split second. It went so fast that we actually had to turn our bodies to see it. Made either a 90-degree angle or an acute angle, and shot back up into, I would say, space at incredible speeds. At that moment, we went into general quarters. At that time, I didn't realize, I guess, combat systems had seen this object. When they called general quarters, the flight deck, in-flight deck control, called for all non-essential personnel on the flight deck to leave. Now they were going to launch the Alert 6. So I guess they're going to try to chase this thing, but he wasn't going to catch up to it. And before I could don my cranial and put my goggles down, general quarters were secured. So they called it, and then they stopped it right away.
How many people do you think saw this at the time that were looking, obviously in the same direction as the sailor in the water?
One, obviously, the flight. A total, I would say, between 30 and 50. I know that's a big range number, but that's maybe even lowballing it, because I know a lot of the flight deckers on the flight deck were facing out that way.
And then the launched boat was successful in getting the guy out of the water?
Yes, they did bring the sailor back.
About what time was this when this happened?
I don't know the exact times, but it was nighttime, maybe between 8 o'clock, 2000 and 11 o'clock, 2300 maybe.
Do you recall the weather? Was it clear? Was it cloudy? Were there other stars out there? Or how did this object stick out in that sky?
It's just the way it shot down and planted itself there in a second. I mean, the whole incident took about 8 to 15 seconds. Now, if you're staring out at something between 8 to 15 seconds, that's really a long time. And the night was clear, waters were calm, a nice, typical San Diego Pacific Ocean night.
Now, did you have any perception of size, or was that difficult to judge?
You know, I thought that is difficult to judge. It had to have been as large as maybe a jet, or just a little larger, because at distance you could still see it. But also, I mean, it was bright. It was almost white and luminescent, and it can move. And when it's dark, even in a bright sky with the stars, and you see something moving like that, I mean, you'll see a jet even moving. Those lights are blinking, but even at supersonic speeds, at a distance, when a jet's moving, you can still follow it, with your eyes.
When you saw the light, maybe tell me a little bit about how that would compare. Like, what color was the light? Is there anything else you've ever seen that kind of had a similar look?
No, absolutely not.
So if you held your arm out, like in front of you, and then you had a coin in your hand, like a dime or a quarter, is that light smaller than that, or would how big was that light? Would you say?
I guess if I heard you correctly, I said the size of a quarter.
Oh, so it was pretty big. If you held a quarter like at arm's length in front of your face, it was about that big around. Was it round or what?
Yeah, it was round. It was round. It was a nice white porcelain kind of looking light, and it was happy. It was large. Just quarter. Compared to the stars, yes, it was a quarter size, definitely.
Yeah, because
the stars are a nice little tiny dot. You know what I mean? They're just kind of glaring in the distance. But this thing was just a white porcelain light, and it doesn't look like a light like when you have a fluorescent light on inside a building. It's just had this. It's almost like a nice porcelain, glooming, iridescent, glowing white light. I mean, almost, looking back, it looks pretty cool, and that's what I remember.
If I was going to do a simulation of that, the speed of a shooting star, coming down really fast, but then when it got to this near the horizon, it just stopped and hovered there for a second, or?
It just stopped, and it was at a distance that you couldn't really see it bounce up and down. It literally just stayed there.
I mean, obviously it was night, so you couldn't tell if it was a giant object, 10 miles away, or a smaller object closer, right? I mean, was there depth?
Yes, I can't.
How long did it hover there before, and you said then it shot off?
To the right, because I was facing aft, starboard side, off of, I believe it's elevator 3.
And then you were on the flight deck. Describe where you were compared to the elevator and the island.
Oh, yeah, standing just in front of the elevator as it's down, behind the island.
So this object comes down, and if you could kind of describe the position of it and how long, like, for instance, it came down and how long did it hover? If you were looking towards the starboard back of the ship and you saw this light, which direction did it take off in, and so on?
It took off from right to left. So it was basically facing at that 5 o'clock point while I was standing behind the island in front of the elevator. It went from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock, and then went up at that acute 90-degree angle, and then it shot off and went straight into space, or in the air, or wherever it came from.
When it went from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock, you said it was really fast. How long would you estimate it got from 5 to 7 o'clock?
A second. Quick.
Yeah.
When you describe fast, it is fast. That's as fast as anything I've seen on Earth that we make. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So then it stopped and it went straight up. You said or it basically didn't really stop. It almost made like an acute turn or right angle turn and went straight back up, like in the same speed or faster.
Oh, fast! Just as fast as it left. Angle, turn, and shot up.
And if you were facing 5 o'clock, kind of on the starboard side, and then that thing took across to 7 o'clock, would that mean that you would have to turn your body and look across the fantail, across the aft of the ship, right?
Yes. We turned. I mean, it wasn't like a full turn. You literally have to move your torso to follow this thing. Shot right back up.
So how long after that thing just happened that they sounded general quarters?
Within a minute or two, they called general quarters. They secured that right away. After they called it, and after that general quarters was called, lasted about another 30 seconds. They secured it.
And during that time, they were going to launch the Alert 6. Is that something you hear over the the PA?
Yes, they had to, because we went to general quarters and then they called to remove all non-essential flight deck personnel. So when that happened, they were going to launch something. And the only thing we had on board was, I don't remember the Hilo, because the Hilo wasn't on Spot 8. I remember the Alert 6.
So they didn't launch it, and then they secured general quarters. And, you said that a bunch of people were kind of like, what the fuck did we just see? And then one guy started praying and stuff. Now, tell me about that.
Yeah, that's definitely a second part of something that I'll remember, too. I went back into flight deck control. It was an eerie silence, a strange silence. Whoever had seen it was in there. One guy he yelled, "What the f*** was that?" I turned around and laughed. And when I turned around and laughed, I looked down, and there was this ADH guy. He was a yellow shirt. He was down, and his hands, he was praying. At that moment, and all that time's going on, I really didn't have to be in flight deck control. I was talking to one of the fuelies who's on board there. He's in control. I said something, I don't know what it was. It had nothing to do with the object. And I went back into me and ABF-1 Diggs went back into our shop, and I started talking to him, asking him too, what did we see, what? Right away he was saying, "Oh, that's got to be some Chinese technology." And I basically said, if that's Chinese technology, you can basically write us off as the number one superpower on Earth, because those things are going to take us out. And I remember the lieutenant, he came in and said what happened. We described what happened, and he kind of, this weird look, take back. And he went up to, don't know where he went, but he went to go talk to some other higher-ups, and he came back, and he wasn't saying anything about it. We do know other countries have jets, and you know how they fly and they move, and we know our fighter pilots are probably, we are the top fighter pilots in the world. And when you see that thing move the way it did, it makes you feel, almost small on the Earth. We are small on the Earth, but you just felt smaller.
You've seen a lot of things in your long career that you had in the Navy up on that flight deck, in probably all kinds of weather, all parts of the world. You've seen all kinds of aircraft. Have you ever seen any other stuff like that, or was that the only time?
That was the only time. Nothing. 10 years, that was it.
There's so many people that are behind this as far as backing each other up, and that it was U.S. Navy and stuff. It's less likely that people are going to stand up and openly ridicule any of these guys, or yourself. So, yeah, I think it's great. I think the more people that come out, the more attention that it focuses on this subject, that maybe we'll get some answers, or at least get some more scientific study going on,
Sure. That sounds great.
I don't know what those things are. I don't know what those objects are, but they're real. They are real. People really saw them. We need some answers here, man. I mean, that's my position. I don't know what they are, and anyone that says they do is full of shit, my opinion.
I don't know what they are, but I know what they can do, and it's unbelievable.
Right, and we need some explanations, and the brightest minds really need to like look at that and start trying to figure it out, you know? All right, well, I appreciate your time.